Dear friends, in this video we are going to discuss about the basic requirements and prerequisites for learning SAP Abap on Hana or S4 Hana Abap module. In our previous video, we have discussed about why to learn this Abap on S4 Hana module and what are all the reasons for learning this Abap on S4 Hana module, and also we have discussed about the advantages from the consultant's point of view as well as the advantages of implementing this SAP Abap on Hana for the organizations, and also we have discussed very clearly about the Hana database, why we are using this Hana database, what is the difference between Hana database and other databases, and why we are shifting from ECC to our S4 Hana, and what are all the applications which runs on Hana database. So all the details we have discussed in our previous videos. So in this video we are going to discuss the basic requirements and prerequisites for learning SAP Abap on Hana, or in other words we can call it as S4 Hana Abap module. So in the last video also I have told you one point very clearly, that all the S4 Hana applications will run only on Hana database. Without Hana database we cannot run any S4 Hana applications, namely S4 Hana Simple Logistics module, S4 Hana Simple Finance module, S4 Hana Central Finance module, S4 Hana Financial Supply Chain Management module, and similarly this SAP Abap and Hana. So all these S4 Hana applications will run only on Hana database. So what is the advantage of using Hana database? We have discussed already. This Hana database provides more faster, more flexible, and more advantages for the organizations, because the reports generated in this Hana database or generation of reports using this Hana database is more times faster than the reports generated using the traditional ECC database. So what we are using in our ECC system? In our ECC system we are using Oracle as the database, or we can use any other databases in our ECC system. But comparatively speaking, this Hana database is the most powerful database, which is SAP's own database. Remember that Hana database is SAP's own database. So that is the reason why now all the ECC applications are migrating to Hana database for faster performance. The major advantage is that it provides faster performance. That is the reason why we are migrating all the business data. We are migrating all the business application data from our traditional ECC to our S4 Hana. This is why, because this S4 Hana, that is Hana database, is very powerful database which provides more flexible, more faster than any other databases. That is the reason why nowadays all the companies who implemented the SAP R3 products, they are migrating to S4 Hana. The reason behind is that it provides faster reports, it provides faster performance, it provides more flexible and very efficient performance. That is the reason why now all the companies are migrating to S/4HANA applications, and we have also discussed very clearly about the HANA database. So now in this video we are going to discuss about the basic requirements and prerequisites for learning SAP ABAP on HANA or S/4HANA ABAP module. Now let us start discussing each and every informations in detail. So what is the basic requirements recommended by SAP, or what are all the basic eligibility criteria recommended by SAP for learning this SAP ABAP on HANA module. So let us start discussing one by one in this video. So what are all the basic requirements? So basic SAP ABAP programming knowledge is mandatory. Remember that for learning this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA, basic ABAP programming knowledge is mandatory. This is why, because this ABAP program, if the consultants are having strong ABAP programming knowledge, then they can be able to learn this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA. And similarly, the candidate should be very strong in basic programming knowledge. Basic programming, that means the candidate should have some programming knowledge in other areas like .NET, Java, C++, and other stuff. Similarly, the candidate should have strong basic understanding of OpenSQL, because we are going to write queries. For writing queries, we need the structured query language, that is SQL language, SQL database knowledge. So basic understanding of OpenSQL is mandatory for learning this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA, and also basic understanding of SAP HANA architecture is very essential for learning this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA module. And also one more requirement they have given is basic understanding of different databases like SQL database, Oracle database, and as well as HANA database is mandatory for learning this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA. So these are all the prerequisites, or these are all the recommendations given by SAP for learning this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA. So this is why, because without having basic understanding of SAP ABAP programming, or without having basic programming knowledge, or without having basic understanding of structured query language, that is OpenSQL queries, without having strong knowledge or basic understanding of SAP HANA architecture, or without having basic understanding of different databases like SQL, Oracle, or HANA database, it is very difficult for them to learn and implement this SAP ABAP on SAP S/4HANA, SAP HANA module. Okay. So these are all the basic requirements, or in other words, these are all the eligibility criteria, or in other words, these are all the prerequisites for learning this SAP ABAP on S/4HANA. This is why, because without having strong ABAP programming knowledge, or without having strong programming knowledge, or without having knowledge in SQL, without having knowledge in SAP HANA architecture, without having knowledge in different databases, namely SQL, Oracle, or HANA database, it is very difficult for the consultants to learn, to implement, to execute, to support, and design the entire SAP ABAP on HANA application. So in this video, we have discussed very clearly about the basic requirements for learning this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA module. Once, if the consultants are very strong in the above discussed areas, then they can be able to learn, they can be able to implement, they can be able to execute, they can be able to support, and similarly, they can be able to design the entire SAP ABAP on S4 HANA module for any organization. So, these are all the basic requirements or prerequisites recommended by SAP before getting into this SAP ABAP on HANA, because this HANA database is a powerful database. That is the reason why we are going to learn this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA. And before going to learn this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA, SAP has given some prerequisites. We have discussed about all the prerequisites in detail in this video. So once if the consultants are having strong experience or strong knowledge in the above discussed areas or above discussed activities, then only the consultants will be able to implement successfully the SAP ABAP on HANA module. So that's all about the basic requirements and prerequisites for learning this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA module. So in this video, we have discussed very clearly about the basic requirements for learning this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA, and also we have discussed very clearly about HANA database, why we need this HANA database and all other stuff. Why we need this HANA database? Because this HANA database provides more faster and more flexible functionalities. That is the reason why all the companies are now migrating from the traditional SAP R3 system to our SAP S4 HANA ABAP or into our S4 HANA applications. So we have discussed very clearly about the basic requirements and prerequisites for learning this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA module. And one more point you have to remember in this video is that all the S4 HANA applications, namely S4 HANA Simple Logistics module, S4 HANA Simple Finance module, S4 HANA Central Finance module, S4 HANA FSCM module, that is Financial Supply Chain Management module, and similarly ABAP, SAP ABAP on S4 HANA will run only on only on HANA database. Without HANA database, this S4 HANA applications will not run. So, in order to learn this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA, all the candidates should be very strong in programming. All the candidates should be very strong in the SQL queries. All the consultants or candidates should be very strong in understanding the SQL database or understanding the Oracle database or understanding the HANA database. Then only they can be able to implement, they can be able to learn, they can be able to design, they can be able to support, and they can be able to execute the end-to-end SAP ABAP on S4 HANA successfully for any organization. So these are all the mandatory requirements for learning this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA. Now I want to introduce myself to you. I am Raja. I am having more than 20 plus years of experience in the SAP industry. I have worked as a consultant, I have worked as a practice head, and similarly I have worked as a delivery head for many projects, and I have involved in many implementation, production support, rollout and upgrade projects as well. And regarding my on-site experience, I have more than 5 years of on-site experience in Middle East and Europe, handling European and Middle East clients. And regarding my certification areas and interests, I have done my certification in finance, I have done my certification in business process planning and consolidation, which is used for consolidation reporting. I have done my certification in S4 HANA Simple Finance module, which deals with the complete AR and AP processes as like SAP FI module. And similarly, I have completed my certification in S4 HANA Simple Logistics module, which is the combination of SAP Materials Management module, SAP Production Planning module, SAP Sales and Distribution module, as well as SAP Plant Maintenance and SAP Quality Management module. And similarly, I have completed my certification in SAP S4 HANA Central Finance for reporting, and also I have completed my certification in SAP Business and Revenue Innovation Management, that is SAP BRIM application, which deals with the complete financial accounting, FICA, that is financial accounting and contract accounting, and other stuff. So in this video, we have discussed very clearly about the prerequisites for learning this complete SAP Abap on S4 HANA module. If the consultants are very strong in the above discussed programming areas, if the consultants are very strong in the above discussed databases, then only they can be able to learn, then only they can be able to implement, then only they can be able to execute the end-to-end ABAP on S4 HANA. So in our next video, we will discuss about different methodologies of implementing both SAP ECC as well as S4 HANA, because in our traditional ECC system, we are using SAP ASAP methodology, that is accelerated SAP methodology for implementation, whereas in S4 HANA, we are using activate methodology for implementation. So we will discuss each and every phases which is coming under SAP, that is ASAP methodology, as well as activate methodology of implementation in our next video. So I think you people are very clear about the basic requirements or prerequisites for learning this ABAP on S4 HANA. So in our next video, we will discuss about the advantages of learning and implementing this SAP ABAP on S4 HANA module very clearly. Thank you.